Okay, so now I'm gonna record. This is Holly's Bakery. This is like part 2. This is the part where I'm gonna cut my dowel rods. I haven't finished doing my cake yet, and it's not even close to the finished product. But I do need to cut the dowel rods and get them in. So what I've done is I have taken my dowel rods. They can be wooden or you can buy the plastic ones. And I put it in the cake, and then I measure with my thumbnail right to the top of the cake. And I don't want to go down too far because I don't want that weight pushing down on any of my other cakes so that that filling bulges out the sides. Not that it would matter that much on this rough cake, but in a typical cake you would not. You would want it just to go just below, part way below the frosting line. So I'm gonna take. You can either take a marker or a pencil. I'm gonna take a pencil, and I'm going to cut it. Mark it. Then I'm gonna pull it back out, and this one is gonna be my guide. And I'm going to have my husband go and saw these off for me, and I am going to need about 8 of them for the bottom layer. This is only a 3-tier cake. The more tiers you have, the more, so wash that off and then go and cut them. And then the more tiers that you have, the more dowel rods you need for the bottom. As you get up to the top, you use less dowel rods. And what happens, and I'm not probably going to show you that part where I stack, but I'm going to push the dowel rods in, and I'm going to take the base of my next cardboard circle, because this is going to be the size of my next cake. It's going to be a 9-inch round, and I am going to eyeball it, and I am going to see how it's going to sit on there so it's nice and straight. And hopefully that's nice and straight. And I want to push that down a little bit. And I want to make sure I have an even lip all the way around. You can measure if you want, but I just do my eyeball. And I just want to make a template, actually. You could push it down a little bit more. The reason I want to make that template around where the cake is going to sit, I'm going to push it down, and I know where my cake is going to sit. See, it's going to squish down on the frosting, so I'm not going to see that, and plus I'm going to have ribbon around it. And the ribbon will grease coat all the way through, so you won't see those spots from the frosting. So I have my template here. And now I know I want to put my dowel rods around the edge of the template and then a couple in the middle so that it supports the center. But if I don't put them around the edge, what happens is it sags, and then the cake will sag on one side or the other. So I'm going to use like 8 dowel rods on the bottom. You can use more if you feel more comfortable. Depends on how far I'm going with the cake as well. I'm not going that far with this cake. So the less dowel rods, the less holes in the cake and the less problems they have cutting it. So that's another thing to factor in. And you know, when they pull out the dowel rods, you pull out a lot of cake. So I try to use the least amount that I can get away with and still be stable to where I don't have to worry about my cake flopping around and falling apart. And see, my cake is starting to crust up, so I may be able to fix a few of these where I don't like where it sticks out quite so much. Going on the edge of my band. So anyway, you get the gist of that. And then my other cake is going to set on top of this board. And then I am going to, the dowel rods will just support this whole cake. And I'm just going to set my next cake on top of there like that. Put another band around it, and then I'm going to do a bead border. I'll come back and I'll show you the bead border when I am stacking the rest of the cake and getting it done, and I'll show you part 3. And then when I get to the reception hall, it's going to have flowers all over it, and it's going to be like a deserty look, and that's why they didn't want the cake smooth. They wanted it like a stucco type building. So that's what I think I sort of achieved. I don't know. I hope they like it. But I'll fix it up as I go along, and I'm sure it will be beautiful by the time I'm done. All right, I'll be back. Holly'sBakery.com. That was part 2.